Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking this video. In today's tutorial, I'll be learning that brainstorming design that you saw on the thumbnail and also that you're seeing on the screen right now. So to start, I'll be using my half scale bodice. I have it here. Both front and back is cut on fold. This is the front, this is cut on fold, and here I have the back also. So I have two pieces because of the zipper space. So I'll be keeping the back for now, then we'll work on the front. The first thing I'm going to do to this front, still on fold, is to create the cutout at the side. Checking the picture. So I'm going to mark about half an inch away from the dart. Half an inch away from the dart. Put a dot like so, okay? Then coming to the underarm, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch. 1.5 inch. Then from the waist down, I'm going to mark about 2 inches downward. Just visualize it and be creative. Okay, now I'm going to use my ruler to connect it in a slight curve. I'm going to use the round part of this ruler just to round here a little so there won't be any sharp bend. Now the next thing I want to do now is to cut the shape out. The pattern is on fold, so we are cutting the two sides together. You can be creative about this cutout. You can make it longer or shorter, it depends on you. So now I'm going to open this pattern, then I'll cut on the waistline. After cutting, I'll keep this down part first, then I'll start the working from this upper part. The first thing I'm going to do to this upper part is to transfer this shoulder dart to the armhole. I'm going to do this by dividing the length into two. The length of the armhole, I'll get the midpoint, then I'll put my dots there, then connect it to the shoulder dart at the bust point. Alright, so the next thing is to slash the line. I'm going to close this dart legs by overlapping it, then mask it down. The upper part overlaps on each other, so I'm going to create the first overlap. Creating it, I'm going to come inward from this shoulder point. I'm going to mark 5/8. For the full scale, you can mark between 1.25, 1 inch and 1.25. Then it comes in a curve to come and join this dart here. Because my ruler will not be able to really draw the curve, I'm going to use my free hand. I'm going to connect in the curve. I'll just eyeball it to join the dart leg at the waistline. I'm using pencil right now. I'm still going to use my marker so I can see it very well, but just in case of error, that's why I'm using pencil first. Okay. Then for the inner one, I'm going to come from this neck tip here. I'll go in by 5/8, the same thing I did to the shoulder tip. 5/8, you can do 1 and 1.25. I'm going to mark it like so. Then I'm going to connect it in a curve. Just look at the picture very well, then visualize it. I'm going to connect in a curve to join the other dart leg. I hope I'm making sense. Like I said, when I'm done, I'm going to use my marker to trace it out so you see it clearly. Now I want to trace them out. I'm going to use my red marker for the one that is overlapping. Okay, I just use my red marker to trace the curve out. To trace the second line, I'm going to use my black marker so that there will be difference between the two lines. Looking at the picture, I feel this space, that the keyhole here, I feel is too wide. So I'm going to use my marker just to reduce it a little. But if you feel it's okay, feel free to leave it. Fashion is creativity. So I'll just reduce it a little, like so. Right, so now I'm going to place a paper underneath, then trace one part of the overlap out. I'm done with tracing it. What I did was to use my tracing wheel to create markings on the black line. Then I went ahead and used my marker to trace it out so you can see it now. This is the one with the black side. Now I have the red side here, so I'm going to use my scissors now to cut the red line. I'm going to discard this one, then we're working on this one. What I'm going to do now is to connect this princess dart to the waist dart. Using the slide curve area of my ruler, I'm going to connect them together. Making sure there is no sharp edges, I'll use this to retrace it. Though I'm still going to correct the curve when I trace it out on under pattern paper. So now I'll cut it out. I'm going to discard the dart. This waist dart is going to be cut off. After cutting now, I'm going to label. Labeling is very important. So I'm going to label the side front, then number 1 panel, number 2 panel, then keep this aside, then pick the other part of the front. I want to start the work in there also. Looking at this part of the front, this is the one that is overlapping, and we have 2 pleats there. So one that is going to serve as a pleat, then we are going to create the second pleat. I'm going to divide this space by 2. I'm going to get the midpoint, then I'm going to connect it to the bust point. The next thing I want to do now is first to trace this panel out of the pattern paper. I'm going to cut this new line till the bust point, then close the shoulder dart, thereby transferring the shoulder dart to the waist. Now I have 2 darts that I'm going to use for my pleats. This is a monostrap gown, so I'm going to connect from this neck area to the armhole. In order for the armhole not to gape, I'm going to add another pattern paper underneath so as to reduce the length of the armhole. Note that this is exactly what you're going to do to your full scale if you are drafting your full scale. This is half scale, but you're going to use the same measurement that I'm about to use. So now I'm going to reduce the length of the armhole by raising my taper up from the actual armhole. This current armhole, I'm raising it up by 3/8 of an inch. That is 1 cm. Put a dot. Then I'm going to connect it to the actual armhole. Then I'm going to now draw a curve from this neck area to the new point. Alright, so now I'm going to cut out. The second part of the front is traced out on under pattern paper because I want to correct any sharp edge. Okay, we have 2 that overlaps at the upper bodice of the front. So I'll just take my ruler now, then correct it just to round it a little. Okay, then I'll do the same to this other side. Now we want to work on the neck area of the back panels. Okay, what I'm going to do is to place the upper part of this front, wrong side facing wrong side like this, then shape the neck area. But before then, I need to raise the armhole a little up, just the same way we did to the front. So I'm going to attach a pattern paper underneath, mask it down, then raise the armhole. Next, I'm going to place the front on the back like so. I'm going to align it together so I can trace the neck area out. I'm going to use pencil to trace out the neck on the back panel so that there won't be any mistake. Before I cut, I'm going to trace the shape out with my marker pen so I can see it clearly. Also note that this panel doesn't have a zipper allowance yet, which I will add when I'm cutting it on my fabric. So I'll just trace it out so I can see the shape of the monostrap. Here I have the back panels. So the next thing I want to label, then if you want a pencil gown, you can put your shape. Let me show you how to do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to identify the nail length. So this is the nail length. I'm going to label it nail length. Right, so then I'm going to also label side back, side back, side back. Okay, now on the nail I'm going to go in by half an inch because it's an half scale, but if you are doing your full scale you should go in by 1 inch so that there will be shape. So I'm using half an inch, then I'll connect from the hip to the nail. Then on the hem also I'm going to go in by half an inch. I'll do the same to this other side. Alright, then I'm going to use my ruler to connect them together. Here, then to the hip. Alright, I'll do the same here also. Connect to the hip, then to the hem. Next, I'm going to cut the shape out. We move to the down part of the front. So the first thing I'm going to do is to identify the nail. This is the nail. We want to create the pencil shape. So on the nail, I'm going to go in by half an inch on each side. Alright, then coming to the hem, I'm going to mark half an inch also. Half an inch. Remember, if it's a full scale, you mark 1 inch inward. I'm going to connect it with my ruler from the hem to the nail, then to the hip. I'll do the same to the other side. The next thing is to cut it out. The next thing now is I'm going to connect a straight line down from this dart straight to the hem. So I'm going to label side front. Alright, then I'm going to cut this line discarding this dart. I'm going to cut this dart off. I noticed that the slit in the front is not a closed slit, it's an open slit. So we need to shape it. I should have done that before cutting the straight line down. So I'll just match it up together like this. Then come to the nail. I'm going to mark like 3/8. It depends on how open you want it. You can mark half an inch or 1 inch. Depends on you. Just be creative. Because this is an half scale, so I'll just mark 3/8. That's about 1 cm on the knee side. Then I'm going to come to the hem. I'm going to do the same 3/8 of an inch. Just mark it. I'll do the same here. Then I'll connect it. Just watch the way I'm going to connect it. From the hip line, I'll come down by 2 inches. For your full scale, you can do 4 inches. Then I'll connect it to the nail. I'll do the same to the other panel also. After connecting, we're going to cut off. Now we want to create our pleats on this wider part of the skirt, and we're going to start from the 2 inches we mark downward, these 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 5 points upward towards the waistline. I'm going to space it by 1 inch because this is half scale. For your full scale, you can use 2 inches. You can space the pleat by 2 inches. So I'm going to have 5 dots. All right. 1 2 3 4 5. So on the second dot now, make sure to draw the line, make sure it's touching this dart so I can close the dart leg. To connect the first dot, I'm going to come to the side. I'm going to divide it by 2, the space by 2, get the midpoint. Then I'm going to draw the line. Just connect it like so. For the remaining lines, I want to look at the picture closely, and looking at the picture, I say that this side of the front is spaced by 3 inches, but because this is half scale, I'm going to use 1.5 to space the lines, but you can use 3 inches. 3 inches will be fine, but I'm using 1.5. So after the marking, I'm going to connect them together. I have the line, so the next thing now is to slash them. Cut it very close to the edge, but don't cut it off. Quickly, before I cut this first line at the waist, I have to close the dart. I'm going to close the dart, then I'll reshape the line and cut it out. Now I'm going to place another paper underneath, then spread it by 2 inches. Now I have another pattern paper underneath, but instead of the 2 inches, I'm going to spread it by 1.5. Then I'll mask it down. I have it masked down. I space it by 1.5 inch. Now I want to reduce the paper so it will be easy for me to fold. Okay, because this is pleat, so I'm going to turn it this way, then I'm going to pleat upward the space, that's a 1.5 inch space here. I'm going to pleat upward, then cut. Okay, so the next thing now is to place it on my fabric, then add the necessary seam allowances. Here 1 inch, this is the side front. Then at the waist I'm going to add 0.5 inch, then to join it together 0.5 inch, then the hem 1.5. Now looking at the picture clearly, the cutout at the waistline actually extended to the back, so we need to do the cutout here also. I'm going to overlap them together, right side facing right side, then I'm going to use the front to trace the cutout. I should have done that together, so I'm going to use this side front. I'm going to place it like this. The important thing is to get the length of the cutout. I can decide to shape it maybe not as wide as the front, but just to get the length so that it will rhyme when I'm stitching it together. On the hip, I'm going to use my marker pen to trace the shape out. Alright, so I'm done tracing. It's time to cut out. I'm going to use pin to hold it together so that it will not shift. At this point, if you don't like the width, you can adjust it. But this is fine, so I'll just use my scissors to cut the shape out after pinning. Here I have all my patterns ready to be cut on my fabric, and I'm going to add my seam allowances all around it on the fabric also. But at this point the video is getting too long. Please kindly stay tuned to my next video, which will be the part 2, where I will show you how to stitch it into this gorgeous dress that you're looking at on the screen. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up. You can also hit the notification bell so as to get notified when I upload new videos. Till I come your way again. Bye for now.